Hare Krishna, Shla Gurudev, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shila Gurudev. Pranam.
Thank you. Japa.
Gurudev, I'm struggling a lot. I'm not able to manage my japa and all household chores.
You struggle to eat?
No, Gurudev.
Don't eat. Don't worry about it. Just chant. If you don't eat, there's no problem. If you don't chant, there's problem.
Yes, Gurudev. So, I'm trying to improve.
Lord Vamandev, Om Agyanatamilandasya Dhirajanam Salakaya Chaksusumyatam Dena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Sayam Rukakamanam Yagati Sapananditam Vanchakopadubhasta Kripasanabhai Vacha Paditanam Bhavinebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. Deity has prayed, performed the vrata sacrifice to please the Lord, and Lord Vamandev has come as her son. Lord Vamandev went to bring the kingdom back to the sons of Aditi, the demigods, and he went begging to Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj was so attracted to him, and he offered him whatever he wanted. Vamandev said, just give me 3 steps of land. Bali Maharaj said, why only take 3 steps of land? I can give you so much. Vamandev replied, if one is not satisfied with 3 steps, what will satisfy him? What will it take? How many steps? Unlimited steps. So Bali Maharaj said, all right, whatever you want. And just then Sukacharya, the spiritual master of Bali Maharaj, came and said, don't. What are you saying? You're going to give this brahmachari whatever he wants, but don't you know that he's Vishnu? Vishnu has taken the side of the demigods. He's going to take everything from you, and he's going to reinstate the demigods with everything. He's going to use it in the service of your enemy. He's going to put them in charge again. And not only that, you've offered him 3 steps of land, but he's going to cover everything with 2 steps, and then you won't even be able to offer him the 3rd step, and you'll have broken your promise. And you go to hell for that. You've promised and you've broken your promise, you'll go to hell. Therefore, somehow get out of this. Tell him you don't have anything. Tell him anything. You didn't say Om first, so it's not a valid promise. After all, if you don't have anything to maintain yourself, because he'll take everything, then the fruit, just like a tree cut down, the fruit cannot come. So similarly, the fruit of life, even though that the body is temporary, the fruit of life is cannot be obtained if the tree of the body is cut. So therefore somehow tell him no. So now we will start reading the reply of Bali Maharaj to Sukracharya, his spiritual master. First I'll read the verses and then we'll go back and read the purports. We'll read everything that Bali Maharaj says right here in reply to Sukracharya. And then we'll go, that's 13 verses, then we'll come back and read purports. Shri Sukadev Goswami said, O King Pricket, when Bali Maharaj was thus advised by his spiritual master, Sukracharya, his family priest, he remained silent for some time. And then, after full deliberation, he replied to his spiritual master as follows. Bali Maharaj said, as you have already stated, the principle of religion that does not hinder one's economic development, sense gratification, fame, and means of livelihood is the real occupational duty of the householder. One shouldn't be sentimental when he gives charity, because one has to ultimately take care of himself. He has his duties. If he gives everything away in charity, he won't be able to perform the Vedic purposes of economic development, kama, artha, dharma, and ultimately moksha. I also think that this religious principle is correct. So which is to correct, to keep your word and give everything as promised, or to maintain the religious principles, the Vedic religious principles of kama, artha, dharma, moksha. So he's deliberating on this, and then he says, Bali Maharaj said, I'm trying to understand which principle is the proper one to apply, because that takes wisdom. One can theoretically know many things, but to know what to apply in a particular circumstance takes some realization. That is called wisdom, vigyan, practical application of the philosophy. So Bali Maharaj concludes and says, I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlad. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I have already said that I shall give this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially towards a Brahmin? There's nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, I can bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. I do not fear hell, poverty, an ocean of distress, fall down from my position, or even death itself as much as I fear cheating a Brahmin. My Lord, he tells Sukracharya, you can also see that all the material opulences of this world are certainly separated from their possessor at death. Therefore, if the Brahmin Vamanadev is not satisfied by whatever gifts one has given, why not please him with the riches one is destined to lose at death? The Dakshi, Shivi, and many other great personalities were willing to sacrifice even their lives for the benefit in general. This is the evidence of history. So why not give up this insignificant land? What is the serious consideration against it? O best of the Brahmins, certainly the great demoniac kings who were never reluctant to fight enjoyed this world. But in due course of time, everything they had was taken away. Except their reputation, by which they continued to exist. In other words, one should try to...
Sorry, Gurudev.
Wish you success.
Thank you so much.
Anurag, 108?
Yes, Maharaj. 8.
108.
108. Yes, Maharaj. So for us, Ekadashi is tomorrow.
Okay. So I'm
Yes, Maharaj.
preparing you for tomorrow.
Yes, Maharaj. I was thinking 64, but now you have raised the bar. Thank you.
64 is old.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, so we'll attempt tomorrow. Thank you.
Let's go forward.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
achieve a good reputation instead of anything else. O best of the Brahmanas, many men have laid down their lives on the battlefield, being unafraid of fighting. But rarely has one gotten the chance to give his accumulated wealth faithfully to a saintly person who creates holy places. By giving charity, a benevolent and merciful person undoubtedly becomes even more auspicious, especially when he gives charity to a person like your good self. Under the circumstances, I must give this little brahmachari whatever charity he wants from me. O great sage, great saintly persons like you, being completely aware of the Vedic principles for performing ritualistic ceremonies and yajnas, worship Lord Vishnu in all circumstances. Therefore, whether that same Lord Vishnu has come here to give me all benedictions or to punish me as an enemy, I must carry out his order and give him the requested tract of land without hesitation. Although he is Vishnu himself, out of fear he has covered himself in the form of a Brahmana to come to me begging. Under the circumstances, because he has assumed the form of a Brahmana, even if he irreligiously arrests me or even kills me, I shall not retaliate, although he is my enemy. If this Brahmana really is Lord Vishnu, who is worshipped by Vedic hymns, he would never have given up his widespread reputation. Either he would lie down having been killed by me, or he would kill me in a fight. That's Bali Maharaj's words. And now we'll read some purports, and then Krishna willing, next week we will hear Sukacharya's reply to Bali Maharaj's words, because Bali Maharaj is saying, this Brahmin, even if he's Vishnu, he's disguised himself, covered himself, making himself in the form of a Brahmin, and if he's coming to me in that way, why shouldn't I give him what he's asking? If I give him less than he's asking, then he's not going to be satisfied, and I won't have satisfied this Brahmin. And what would be the good of giving him anything if he doesn't come away satisfied? And in any case, what will I give him that I will not lose at the time of my death? And how long will anyone live? So if I can gain something eternal, or even a reputation, a great reputation for being so renounced, and a great dani, a great giver of charity, if I can gain even a reputation, I'm the gainer. Because if I keep hoarding everything till the moment of my death, what will I have gained when I die? At least in this way I'll have a reputation. So using one point of logic after another, and ultimately using the ultimate logic, if this is Vishnu, even if he's my enemy, he's come, so I have to give him everything. And even the still more ultimate logic, which was really in his mind, was I should give up everything to please Vishnu. This is the purpose of the Vedas. This is the purpose of my accepting a spiritual master. This is the purpose of my existence. If I have the facility somehow or another, by the grace of the Lord, to satisfy Him, that is perfection. That is Dharma. That is Bhagavad Dharma. That is Bhakti Yoga. Somehow or another, Lord Vishnu must be pleased. Krishna must be pleased. So this is how Vamandev, or rather Bali Maharaj, is thinking, because he's a devotee. So we'll read some purports. They're wonderful. So this is the first purport where, after hearing the words of a spiritual master, Sukacharya, Bali Maharaj thinks a while. He's thinking this side and that side. His guru has told him one thing, yet he knows that the principle, the ultimate principle that he's supposed to learn from his spiritual master is surrender to Vishnu. And here is Vishnu asking him for something directly. So he was silent for some time. And here is Prabhupada's purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that Bali Maharaj remained silent at a critical point. How could he disobey the instructions of Shukracharya, his spiritual master? It is the duty of such a sober personality as Bali Maharaj to abide by the orders of his spiritual master immediately, as his spiritual master had advised. But Bali Maharaj also considered that Shukracharya was no longer to be accepted as a spiritual master, for he had deviated from the duty of a spiritual master. According to Shastra, the duty of the Guru is to take the disciple back home, back to Godhead. If he is unable to do so and instead hinders the disciple in going back to Godhead, he should not be a Guru. How did he hinder? He's saying, don't give Vishnu what he wants. Take care of yourself. Take care of your religiosity. Take care of your own wealth. Don't give him what he wants. On the other hand, in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna gave so many arguments why he shouldn't fight. But Krishna told them they're all foolish because they neglect the ultimate principle. The ultimate principle is that you are eternal, you're a soul, and that your business, your natural constitutional position, mamai vangso jivaloke, jiva bhuta sanatana. You're eternal. And you're eternally my servant. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyajimam namaskru savadamam pratyaja mamanusmaram yudhyacha. Remember me, fight, because I want you to do so. That is the principle, the ultimate principle, to please Krishna. So Shukracharya was telling him something quite different from that. So therefore he had deviated. Guru nasasyat. One should not become a guru if he cannot enable his disciple to advance in Krishna consciousness. The goal of life is to become a devotee of Lord Krishna so that one may be freed from the bondage of material existence. Chatfadeham punah janma naiti mameti so Arjuna. The spiritual master helps the disciple attain this stage by developing Krishna consciousness. Now Shukracharya had advised Bali Maharaj to deny this promise to Vamandev. Under the circumstances, therefore, Bali Maharaj thought there would be no fault if he disobeyed the order of his spiritual master. So he was thinking about all these things. He was deliberating on the point. He deliberated on this point. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I listen to him? Should I not? And he was angry at him. Shukracharya was getting angry at Bali Maharaj. And later on he'll even curse him for surrendering to Vamandev and neglecting his own instructions. Bali Maharaj thought that there would be no fault if he disobeyed the order of his spiritual master. He deliberated on this point. Should he refuse to accept the advice of his spiritual master? Or should he independently do everything to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He took some time, therefore it is said, Tujim bhutva chanam rajan uvacha vahito gurum. After deliberating on this point, he decided that Lord Vishnu should be pleased in all circumstances, even at the risk of ignoring the Guru's advice to the contrary. Anyone who is supposed to be a Guru, but who goes against the principle of Vishnu Bhakti, cannot be accepted as a Guru. If one has falsely accepted such a Guru, one should reject him. Such a Guru is described as follows. Guru api avaliptasya karya karyam ajanataha utpata patipanasya parityago vidiyate. Srila Jiva Goswami has advised that such a useless Guru, a family priest acting as Guru, should be given up, and that the proper bona fide Guru should be accepted. So he deliberated. Satkarma nipano vipro mantra tantra visharada avaishnavo guru nasyat vaishnavasva pacho guru. A scholarly brahmana expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava. But if a person born in a family of a lower caste is a Vaishnava, he can become a spiritual master. So what is the discrimination point, the discriminating factor, whether one should be a guru or not? Ye Krishna Tattva Vaita Se Guru Hai. If one is actually a devotee and knows Krishna Tattva, then he's qualified regardless of his birth. Bali Maharaj said. So he had considered, now he's beginning to speak. He said, you have already stated the principles that don't hinder one's material situation should be accepted. And Bali Maharaj said, I also think this is correct. So on one side, one can't be a fool and drastically, radically act sentimentally, foolishly, and just give up everything, and then later on have nothing for oneself, be completely destitute, and then become bitter maybe. He's saying, oh, there's some point on that side. Here's Prabhupada's purport. Bali Maharaj's grave answer to Sukacharya is meaningful. Sukacharya stressed that one's material means of livelihood and one's material reputation, sense gratification, and economic development must continue properly. To see to this is the first duty of a man who is a householder, especially one who is interested in material affairs. So if you preach this very strongly in the world, you would get many converts. And everyone would love you. Your first duty is to take care of your family, the most important thing. To take care of your means of livelihood, the most important thing. One's material reputation, one's sense gratification. Gain this. This is the most important thing. And this is the most important duty, the first duty of a householder. If a religious principle does not affect one's material condition, it is to be accepted. So do as much as you can, as long as it doesn't interfere with your material prosperity. Good preaching, huh? At the present time, in this age of Kali, this idea is extremely prominent, Prabhupada says. No one is prepared to accept any religious principle if it hampers material prosperity. Sukacharya, being a person of this material world, did not know the principles of a devotee, which are just opposed to this. Because what's the fulcrum, the central principle of what Prabhupada is herein is saying, that indirectly saying should be rejected. The principle is that do what's best for your material life. Please yourself. Keep yourself in the center. Well, Krishna, the Krishna principle, the Bhakti principle, the words of Krishna stress something completely different. And what is that something completely different? That one should do everything to please Krishna. And not only that, not fear that one is losing something. So Prabhupada continues. A devotee is determined to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead to his full satisfaction. Anything that hampers such determination should certainly be rejected. Everything for Krishna's satisfaction. This is devotion. This is devotional service. And this is what the spiritual master preaches. Anything that hampers such determination should certainly be rejected. That is the principle of bhakti. Anukulasya sankalpa patikulasya varjanam. To perform devotional service, one must accept only that which is favorable and reject that which is unfavorable. Bali Maharaj had the opportunity to contribute everything he possessed to the lotus feet of Lord Vamandev, but Sukacharya was putting forward a material argument to hamper this process of devotional service. Under the circumstance, Bali Maharaj decided that such hindrances should certainly be avoided. In other words, he decided immediately to reject the advice of Sukacharya and go on with his duty. Thus he gave all his possessions to Lord Vamandev. This is called Sharanagati. Sadvidam Sharanagati. Anukulasya sankalpa patikulasya varjanam. Accept everything that's favorable for pleasing Krishna. Reject everything that's unfavorable. There's so much freedom in that. It's the freedom born of love. But there's freedom. That one is free to do everything that will be pleasing to Krishna, even if the rest of the world condemns. If it's pleasing to God, pleasing to Krishna, it is most glorious. Who will listen to this principle of religion nowadays? Who will listen to this? First of all, one reason why people shouldn't listen to it or won't listen to it is that it's been abused. People will shoot someone and they say, oh, God told me to do it. So everyone will say that it's the mark of a crazy man. So therefore one shouldn't follow this. Or we've seen so many people trying to give up everything, and then what happens later in their life? Boom, go back and try to retake everything that they gave up before. Another reason that one shouldn't follow it. Yet, the fact is that this is what Krishna demands. Actually demands. Savadamam prityaja. Mamekam sharanam braja. Amtam savapapabhyo mokshishami masucha. Somehow or another, Krishna must be pleased. Samsiddhya haritoshanam. So one should keep this principle. This is the principle of surrender. And at this point, when one surrenders to Krishna, bhakti actually begins. If we're doing what we like and offering it to Krishna, that's not actually bhakti. That's actually nishkam karma yoga or sakam karma yoga. Working and then giving all or some of the fruits to Krishna, being detached from all or some of the fruits. But bhakti means working in the way Krishna wants, not working in the way we want. So this takes very deep devotion. And Bali Maharaj has this, and Lord Vamadev is going to test it. Sometimes we have not deep devotion but a sentiment. Yes, I will give everything to Krishna. But really what's in our mind is, but everything has to work out the way I want because I'm giving everything to God. Therefore, and He's all powerful, therefore things should work out just the way I want. My enemies will be pushed down. I'll come upward, I'll gain success, I'll live happily ever after. But this is not what Krishna will do with Bali Maharaj. And we should watch very carefully Bali Maharaj's mood and see how Krishna himself reacts to Bali Maharaj's mood. Very, very interesting. But I don't want to tell too much of the pastime in advance. But we should watch carefully Bali Maharaj's mood, how Krishna reacts to Bali Maharaj's mood, and then how Bali Maharaj reacts to what happens to him. And Bali Maharaj will teach us in this way, Atmanavedanam, giving up of the soul, giving up of everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Text 3. So he's giving his reasons now why he said, so first he said, yes, I accept your principle that one shouldn't do anything that will disturb his material life, because there's logic behind that. If you perform your material life properly, then you can make gradual advancement. Slow and steady wins the race. Make gradual advancement, and then eventually, gradually, you'll be able to give up everything to please Krishna. So there's something to be said on that side. But on the other side, he said, I am the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I've already said that I shall give this land? Should I behave like an ordinary cheater? Or as the next verse says, the earth says that I cannot bear anything but I can bear anything but I cannot bear the weight on me of a liar. He'll come to his conclusion. So I can't. How can I accept that principle of maintaining myself if it means that I lie and disgrace Prahlad Maharaj, because I am his grandson, and put a burden on the earth. So even if I lose everything and go to hell, or I'm poverty-stricken, or if I'm distressful, or if I fall down from my position as King of Heaven, or even if I have to die, if he takes my life and kills me, I do not fear any of those things as much as I fear cheating a Brahmana, going against that religious principle. So I'll read the purports up to that point. One fairly long one and then one short one. Bali Maharaj had already been blessed by his grandfather Prahlad Maharaj. Therefore, he was a pure devotee, although born in a family of demons. There are two kinds of highly elevated devotees, called Sadhana Siddha and Kripa Siddha. Sadhana Siddha refers to one who has become a devotee by regular execution of the regulative principles mentioned in the Shastras, as ordered and directed by the spiritual master. If one regularly executes such devotional service, he will certainly attain perfection in due course of time. But there are other devotees who may not have undergone all the required details of devotional service, but who, by the special mercy of Guru and Krishna, the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, have immediately attained the perfection of pure devotional service. So two ways to go, two ways to achieve perfection for a soul: sadhana and kripa. Sadhana means I practice and practice and practice and practice and gradually become elevated in due course of time to perfection. And the other way is somehow or another attract the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And actually the mercy of Krishna must be preceded by the mercy of Guru Sadhu. So two different ways. One is a gradual process and one is the rapid process. Example of such devotees, the Kripa Siddha devotees, who by mercy of Krishna or Krishna's devotees have attained perfection, are the Jagyapatis, the wives of the Brahmins, the Mathura Brahmins, who gave Krishna, who was begging, Krishna sent the cowherd boys to beg food because they were hungry, or they thought that Krishna was hungry, so they begged from the Brahmins who were performing a sacrifice in Mathura, and the Brahmins said no. They completely ignored the boys who were begging. And then the wives, when they heard that Krishna was hungry and nearby, because they had heard of Krishna, they brought him everything immediately. And Krishna entered their hearts through their eyes by their looking at him, and he embraced them there, and they became perfect. So they're one example. They didn't perform any sadhana, but they surrendered everything to Krishna, and they attained his favor in that way. Bali Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami, two other examples of Kripa Siddha. The Jagyapatnis were the wives of ordinary Brahmanas engaged in fruitive activities. Although the Brahmanas were very learned and advanced in Vedic knowledge, they could not achieve the mercy of Krishna Balaram, whereas their wives achieved complete perfection in devotional service, despite their being women. Similarly, Vairochani, Bali Maharaj, received the mercy of Prahlad Maharaj. And by Prahlad Maharaj's mercy, he also received the mercy of Lord Vishnu, who appeared before him as a brahmachari beggar. Thus, Bali Maharaj became a Kripa Siddha because of the special mercy of both Guru and Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms this favor, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhaktilata Bij. Bali Maharaj, by the grace of Prahlad Maharaj, got the seed of devotional service. So I found this interesting. Bali Maharaj, by the grace of Prahlad Maharaj, got the seed of pure devotional service planted in his heart. And when that seed developed, he achieved the ultimate fruit of that service, namely love of Godhead, prema pamartha mahan. Because what happened is he already was a devotee by the mercy of the association of Prahlad Maharaj, but then when Vamandev actually came, he fell in love with him. This beautiful dwarf Brahmin boy, who was actually Lord Vishnu, completely captivated him and stole his heart. So immediately, to achieve the ultimate fruit of that service, that seed, the development of that seed, namely love of Godhead, Prema Pramota Mahan, immediately upon the appearance of Lord Vamanadeva, Balaji Maharaj fell in love with him. That's mercy. Mercy from Prahlad and also mercy from Vamanadeva himself. Balaji Maharaj regularly maintained devotion for the Lord, and because he was purified, the Lord appeared before him. Because of unalloyed love for the Lord, he then immediately decided, I shall give this little dwarf Brahmana whatever he asks from me. This is a sign of love. Thus Balaji Maharaj is understood to be one who received the highest perfection of devotional service by special mercy. And the next purport about lying. On the surface of the earth there are many great mountains and oceans that are very heavy. And Mother Earth has no difficulty carrying them. But she feels very much overburdened when she carries even one person who is a liar. It is said that in Kali Yuga, lying is a common affair. Mayaiva vyavaharike, Bhagavatam 12:2-3. One of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, everyone continuously lies. Even in the most common dealings, people are accustomed to speaking so many lies. No one is free from the sinful reaction of speaking lies. Under the circumstances, one can just imagine how this has overburdened the earth and indeed the entire universe. So after speaking this point, or the series on this point, how could I not give it to him? I've promised. Balaraj will go into some other reasons why he should give everything to Vamadeva. But ultimately Prabhupada explained the real reason why he wanted to give everything to Vamadeva, and that was because he loved him. The seed of devotion that had been planted by Prahlad Maharaj blossomed when he saw Vamadeva, and therefore he immediately, due to love, wanted to please him. But he's now going to give a more indirect reason. He said, if I give him some charity, as my Guru Sukacharya has in the way that he has said, give him 1/5 of my wealth, or give him this or that, but if I give him and don't satisfy him, what will I gain by that? He wants everything, maybe. Sukacharya is correct, he wants everything. So I should give him everything. After all, I'm going to lose everything at the time of death. So why not satisfy him by giving him what I'm already destined to lose? Purport. Short purport. The word Vipra means Brahmana, and at the same time confidential. Balaji Maharaj had confidentially decided to give the gift to Lord Vamana without discussion. But because such a discussion would hurt the hearts of the Asuras and his spiritual master, Sukacharya, he spoke equivocally, tactfully. He's speaking, maybe this side, have to be careful on this side. But really, he had already decided, due to his devotion, to give it to Vishnu. But Vishnu was considered the enemy, so therefore he was careful in how he presented it, because he did not want to disturb these persons, the other Asuras who were part of his entourage, and he didn't want to disturb Sukacharya. Balaji Maharaj, as a pure devotee, had already decided to give all the land to Lord Vishnu. I have a comment by Dhira Maharaj. Dhira Swami explains about this verse. Balaji Maharaj is saying that since all of one's wealth and other assets are taken away at death, why not just give them away before that? And if one proposes that it would be better to give only half and keep the rest to make sure that one won't have a problem maintaining himself, then the person you give the lesser charity might not be satisfied, in which case the charity becomes useless. On with more purports. Now he's giving an example of people, personages who gave away everything to satisfy the Lord, or even on a principle of charity, or on a principle of giving one's word, or giving another shelter. So he's saying, I'm not the only one who's going to do this, but there are other examples in history. The Deity, in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, we heard how the Deity donated his life so that Indra could take his bones and make his Vajra, his thunderbolt weapon. And Maharaj Sibi also did this. He offered to sacrifice. I think that was to protect the pigeon. Yes? Is that right? The pigeon who came to him was to take shelter of him. And the hawk who was chasing the pigeon, he said, I would give you shelter, pigeon. And the hawk was chasing him, and the hawk demanded his own flesh, Maharaj Sibi's flesh, to the equivalent weight of a pigeon. So pigeons are very, very, very light. They're all air, and therefore that's part of the reason they could fly. So the king said, all right, I will give you some of my own flesh to feed you, he said to the hawk. But then when the pigeon was put on a scale, he weighed more than Maharaj Sibi. And he said, all right, take me, kill me. So this was actually the demigods testing the charitable disposition of Maharaj Sibi. But he was prepared to give everything because he had given his word. Prabhupada's purport. Bali Maharaj was prepared to give everything to Lord Vishnu, and Sukacharya, being a professional priest, might have been anxiously waiting, doubting whether there had been any instance in history in which one had given everything in charity. Bali Maharaj, however, cited the tangible examples of Maharaj Sibi and Maharaj Diditi, who had given up their lives for the benefit of the general public. Certainly one has attachment for everything material, especially one's land. But land and other possessions are forcibly taken away at the time of death, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Mrityu savaharas chaham. The Lord personally appeared to Bali Maharaj to take away everything he had, and thus he was so fortunate that he could see the Lord face to face. So Krishna had personally come to take away everything. Usually Krishna comes only as death to take away everything. But here, Krishna had come personally as Vamandev, not in his representational way. So he was so fortunate that when Krishna came in that way, as Vamandev, he could see Krishna face to face. Non-devotees, however, cannot see the Lord face to face. To such persons, the Lord appears as death and takes away all their possessions by force. Under the circumstances, why should we not part with our possessions and deliver them to Lord Vishnu for his satisfaction? Sri Chanakya Pandit says in this regard, Samit Sannimite Varam Tyago Vinese Niyate Sati. Since our money and possessions do not last, but will somehow or another be taken away, as long as they are in our possession, it is better to use them for charity to a noble cause. Therefore Bali Maharaj defied the order of his so-called spiritual master. So Bali Maharaj, by doing this, he achieved everlasting fame as a Mahajan, a great soul. Prabhupada's purport to text 10 is very short, where he says, by giving charity, everything becomes auspicious. Just like Mayapur, yeah? Ooh, moving towards Vyasa-san. Yeah, quickly. First from the Vyasa-san, from Prabhupada's Vyasa-san. Maybe during the flood time you should bring Krishna Leela to Mayapur. see him come with mops. Maybe you have to keep it away from that side there. So even an auspicious person becomes more auspicious, as Bali Maharaj says, when he gives charity to an exalted person. So therefore I'll give him everything that he wants from me. Purport. If one accepts a poverty-stricken position because of losing money in business, gambling or prostitution, or intoxication, no one will praise him. But if one becomes poverty-stricken by giving all his possessions in charity, he becomes adored all over the world. Everyone will say, "Oh, this person is so wonderful." Aside from this, if a benevolent and merciful person exhibits his pride in becoming poverty-stricken by giving his possessions in charity for good causes, his poverty is a welcome and auspicious sign of a great personality. Bali Maharaj decided that even though he would become poverty-stricken by giving everything to Vamanadev, this is what he would prefer. And from in this verse, text 11, O great sage, great saintly persons like you, being completely aware of the Vedic principles for performing ritualistic ceremonies and yagyas, worship Lord Vishnu in all circumstances. So he's saying, you, Sukracharya, you're a great sage, and you worship Lord Vishnu in all circumstances, and you're pointing out that he's come, Vishnu has come. And you're saying, be careful of him because he's going to take everything from you. He's representing your enemies, the demigods. So he continues, therefore saying, therefore, whether that same Lord Vishnu has come to give me all benedictions or to punish me as an enemy, I must carry out his order and give him the requested tract of land without hesitation. We'll read from the second half of Prabhupada's purport. Bali Maharaj, having been perfectly educated in devotional service by his grandfather Prahlad Maharaj, knew how things are to be done. He was never to be misguided by anyone, even by a person who happened to be his so-called spiritual master. This is the sign of full surrender. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, Mara bira kabi yo icha tohara nitya dasa prati tuyadikara. From Manasa Deho Yeho. When one surrenders to Lord Vishnu, one must be prepared to abide by his orders in all circumstances, whether he kills one or gives one protection. Lord Vishnu must be worshipped in all circumstances, placing oneself in the hands of Krishna. That's surrender. Yotripte maranam tata. And then the final purport we'll read, a short one. If this Brahman is really Lord Vishnu, the verse says, who is worshipped by Vedic hymns, he would never given up his widespread reputation. Either he would lie down, having been killed by me, or he would kill me in a fight. So Bali Maharaj he's saying this couldn't be Lord, even though he knows it's Lord Vishnu. He's saying this, he couldn't be Lord Vishnu. You're saying, Sukracharya, my Guru Maharaj, that he's Vishnu, but he couldn't be. Lord Vishnu wouldn't come in this cunning way and hide himself. Either he would fight me and either defeat me or be defeated by me. But there is a hidden meaning to this statement. Prabhupada's short purport explains. Bali Maharaj's statement that Vishnu would lie down having been killed is not the direct meaning, for Vishnu cannot be killed by anyone. Lord Vishnu can kill everyone, but he cannot be killed. Thus the real meaning of the words lie down is that Lord Vishnu would reside within the core of Bali Maharaj's heart. Lord Vishnu is defeated by a devotee through devotional service. Otherwise, no one can defeat Lord Vishnu. So that is the way that Lord Vishnu actually becomes defeated. If one surrenders, as Bale Maharaj surrenders, he actually will conquer the Ajita, the unconquerable Lord. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
You mentioned in that report that the three Kripa sadhanas, the Brahmana Patnis and Bali Maharaj. So Sukadeva Goswami doesn't give the example about him? Doesn't elaborate on that?
How did Sukadeva Goswami attain perfection? He was a Brahmavadi. You know that pastime? How he wouldn't come out of his mother's womb. He was in his mother's womb for 16 years. And he wouldn't come out because he didn't want to fall into Maya. He was afraid that if he came out, he would become entangled in the material world. He was so deeply realized. So he refused to come out. And Vyasadeva was his father, an exalted incarnation of Krishna, Shaktavesha avatar. And he promised him, don't worry, if you come out, you won't fall into Maya, don't worry. But he still wouldn't come out. So Vyasadeva went to Dwarka and got Krishna to come. And Krishna promised him, don't worry, you come out. Because there was some service actually he was supposed to do. So he came out by Krishna's strength of Krishna's promise. He came out, and then what did he do? Still, he didn't want to stay at home. He didn't want to become entangled in the family life. So he left home immediately. And his father had a reason for wishing him to come out, as he wanted to teach him the Bhagavatam. So Sukadeva Goswami walked away, and Vyasadeva kept calling him, come back, come back. And the only reply he got was the echo of his words. But then he sent some messengers with some verses of the Bhagavatam. Some different shastras, it says what verses they are. One is Bahar Pitam Natavaravapu Kanayor Kanikaram Vibral Vasat Kanakakapisam Vajayantim Chamalyam Randram Vinuradara Sudaya Purayan Gopavinda Vrindavaranyam Sa Prabhishat Gita Kirti, and that's from the Venu Gita, where Krishna, it describes the Christians going into the forest, how the gopis are meditating on Krishna when he goes to the forest with his cowherd boys, and how beautifully he looks. And the other verse is Maho Pakayam Stanakalakutam Jigham Siyadhyadharyapisvalvi Leibhegatim Datriyutato Tatonyam Kambadayalam Sharanam Vrajema. Who could be Kambadayalam Sharanam Vrajema? Who could be a more merciful Lord than Krishna? Because when Putana came to him, she came to kill him. And yet, because she came to him as a datri, or a nurse, to give him the milk from her breast, even though she had put poison upon her breast, still Krishna took the essence of that she had come to him, and to give him her breast milk, and took the good from the ocean of the drop of good from the ocean of evil, and gave her liberation, and gave her the position of datri in the spiritual world, of nurse in the spiritual world. So who could find a more merciful Lord than Krishna? We don't want justice, we want mercy. So therefore when Sukadeva Goswami, who had left home, heard these two verses sent by his father, and I think there was a third one maybe, possibly, but he immediately came back because he was attracted. So he heard the Bhagavatam for his father, but yet from my understanding is he gained perfection not by sadhana, and not just by hearing the Bhagavatam, but he gained perfection by his speaking the Bhagavatam. So it was by the mercy of the Bhagavatam that he gained perfection. So he was Kripa Siddha. And Parikshit Maharaj gained perfection by hearing the Bhagavatam. Any other questions or comments?
So, all the examples in the Bhagavatam.
Dhruva Maharaj performed sadhana, and were recommended to perform sadhana. But ultimately, the siddhi, the perfectional platform, ultimately would always come by some mercy or another. But yet, we have to put in our side of doing sadhana. Prahlad Maharaj gained perfection by hearing from Narada. Narada Muni himself, by always thinking about the Lord. He heard from his gurus and then he wandered around and he gained perfection. Gradually, when he died, by always feeling separation from the Lord. This is actually described in the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the two ways of gaining perfection, sadhana siddhi and kripa siddhi. So you can look in the Nectar of Devotion to see what else is said. It explains also just by the glance of the Lord and by the well wishes of the Lord, one can gain perfection. And there are examples given in the Nectar of Devotion. So you can look. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Lord Vamanadev ki jai. Balamaraj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ganadamanandasya Jana Jana Lakaya Satsu Similitan Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupakadamayam Dudati Sa Palantikam. Antakopazurascha Kripasindhu Vaivacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So in the 20th chapter, in the opening verses, we're up to 6:14. In the previous verses, Bali Maharaj begins to reply to Sukacharya's arguments. Sukacharya warned Bali Maharaj, be careful. This dwarf Brahmachari is Vishnu. He's going to take everything from you in the guise of his begging 3 steps of land. Somehow get out of your promise. Somehow be relieved of the fact that you said, I shall give you anything you want, because he will take everything. So Bali Maharaj thought, and we read these opening verses of this chapter in the last class. Bali Maharaj thought for a while and said, yes, there is truth in the fact that one shouldn't give charity to the degree that it endangers one's own material situation. That's true, because that was the basic advice that Sukacharya was giving. And this is the basic thought of a pious materialist. I should be religious, I should give charity, but I should do it to such a degree that it's complementary to my material life. It's not as if that there is 2 things. One is black and one is white. One is the material life and one is the spiritual life, and the 2 can't coexist. One can't pour water on a fire and at the same time be igniting it. One can't engage in a comfortable material life and at the same time be developing deeply and inflaming one's spiritual life, because the two are opposed to each other. If one tries to put together, one will either be a material, a materialist, seemingly like a spiritualist, or one will take one's material life and completely spiritualize it, even though it may look like an ordinary material life. But if the whole center of that material life is to satisfy Krishna, then it indeed is a spiritual life. The spiritual will spiritualize the material. And on the other hand, if one has a spiritual life but keeps oneself and one's comfort in the center, that materialism will materialize the spiritual life. The two, the materialism and spiritualism, cannot coexist for long until one side will win or the other side. So Bali Maharaj thought, and he said, yes, that is a correct principle. That was his spiritual master, Sukacharya, telling him, don't surrender to Vamanadev, to Vishnu. So he says, yes, that's correct. One shouldn't be extreme and endanger one's comfortable material life through giving charity. But on the other hand, he continues, how could I lie? I've already promised this Brahmana. Then he quotes Mother Earth saying that I can bear any heavy thing, but I cannot tolerate the weight of even a liar. Bali Maharaj said, I don't fear going to hell, I don't fear this, I don't fear that, but I do fear lying to a Brahmana. And after all, I'm going to lose all these riches anyway. So, if to satisfy him, if in giving away my possessions I satisfy him, if you're right, that he's Lord Vishnu and he's going to take everything, if I do satisfy him by giving him everything, I'm going to lose that everything in time anyway, and by death, so what's the loss? It continues, this is his discriminations. But actually he's already made up his mind, because he's a devotee, he wants to give everything to Lord Vamanadev. He's going through some reasons, but the real reason is that he's a devotee. And it's the natural inclination of a devotee, or it's practically the definition of a devotee, to give up everything to please Krishna, because that's what it means to be a devotee, because Krishna's pleasure is in the center. Again, the opposite of materialism, where one's selfish self is the center. And then Bali Maharaj continues, there are so many instances in history of people for the benefit of others who've given their lives. I should also do that for the benefit of Lord Vishnu. And also, if by doing this I'll become famous. I'll become famous as a great charity giver, the one who gave everything in charity, did not keep anything for himself. So I'll become famous, and my fame and reputation will outlast my body anyway. So that is also a benefit. So he concluded in this way, I must give this little brahmachari whatever charity he wants from me. He's a little brahmachari. He's a dwarf. This again is showing that whatever form Krishna comes in, whatever form Krishna comes in, whether it comes as Varahadev in the form of a boar, as a hog, or if he comes as a little dwarf brahmana, and we're going to see when as he's a dwarf brahmana, because a dwarf means little, diminutive, but he's going to expand so he covers the entire universe. Because whatever form he's in, it doesn't mean that doesn't have the unlimited potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Bali Maharaj said, this dwarf brahmana, who is actually Lord Vishnu, I'm going to give him whatever he wants. Going to request we surrender to Him. And there's also in the 11th verse, he says that you've taught me, O great sage, saintly persons like you, being completely aware of the Vedic principles. He's speaking to Sukacharya very respectfully, his spiritual master. You've taught me that the Vedic principles, the Vedic rituals, the yajnas, the sacrifices, they're all meant for the worship of Lord Vishnu, and that's the purpose of the Vedas. Vedas Trasavarahame Vidyo. So here he is. Vishnu is here, you're saying. So if he's come to either benedict me or punish me, I don't care. I should still give him what he wants. And what does he want? We'll find out. He's asked for 3 steps of land. Very interesting. He says, whether he's come to benedict me or punish me, I should still surrender and submit myself to him. Which has he done? Which has he come to do? Has he come to benedict Bali Maharaj or to punish him? Superficially, it's going to appear that he's come to punish him, because on behalf of the demigods, he's going to take everything away and send him to Sutala, to hell. So punishment, punishing the enemy of the demigods, because he was an asura. But actually he's come to benedict him. He's come to take everything material from him. Not exactly take, but give Bali Maharaj an opportunity to give him everything material, to give him everything he has. And then once he's bereft of material attachments, he's going to give himself in reciprocation. The Lord will give himself to his devotee who is akinchana, tam akinchana gochara, naeva arhati abidatum tam akinchana gochara. That Krishna is the property of those who do not value anything separate from him. Nothing in the material world has value separate from him. So Bali Maharaj will be giving everything, and he will gain more than everything. He will gain Lord Vamandev. So now, Bali Maharaj, text 14. Or Sukacharya, before Bali Maharaj will start to act. Text 14. Sukadev Goswami continued. Thereafter, the spiritual master, Sukacharya, being inspired by the Supreme Lord, interesting that what he's doing as well, is inspired by the Supreme Lord. Krishna will inspire different souls differently, according to who they are and what their desires are. Yeyitam mam prapadyante. So inspired by the Supreme Lord, he cursed his exalted disciple Bali Maharaj, who was so magnanimous and fixed in truthfulness that instead of respecting his spiritual master's instructions, he wanted to disobey his order. We'll read the next verse, and then we'll read these 2 purports. So Sukacharya then cursed Bali Maharaj, and this is what he said. Although you have no knowledge, you have become a so-called learned person. And therefore, you dare be so impudent as to disobey my order. Because of disobeying me, you shall very soon be bereft of all your opulence. So he told him, now you're so intelligent. You're discriminating that I cannot tell a lie. I've told you that you should not surrender to him. And now you're so intelligent, you have your own mind and way of doing things, and you've decided to go against everything that I've said. Well, because of disobeying me, you shall very soon be bereft of all your opulence. And this was the plan of the Lord. Because when Aditi prayed to Lord Vamandev, or prayed and did the Payovrata, and the Lord came before her, he said that she wanted to get the kingdom of heaven back for her sons, the demigods, and the Lord said, no, I won't do it directly like that. Because the reason why Bali Maharaj is so powerful and he's gained all this power is because he is being blessed by the Brahmana descendants of Bhrigu Muni, and I won't countervene their blessing. I won't go against their blessing, the blessing of the Brahmanas, but he will lose everything when he loses the blessing of his spiritual master and the Brahmins. So here, Vamadev incarnated to arrange a circumstance where he would lose those blessings of his spiritual master Sukracharya, and here he's just done it. Vamadev, by his sweet, charismatic, effulgent power, potency, attractiveness, he's attracted the heart of Bali Maharaj so much that Bali Maharaj agrees to give him everything, and Sukracharya then curses him, retracts, withdraws his blessings. Now read these two purports to 14 and 15. The difference between the behavior of Bali Maharaj and that of his spiritual master Sukracharya was that Bali Maharaj had already developed love of Godhead, where Sukracharya, being merely a priest of routine rituals, had not. Thus Sukracharya was never inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to develop in devotional service. Very interesting. Look what Sukracharya was inspired to do. He was inspired by whom? By Krishna, to curse Bali Maharaj. So sometimes different personalities, different people will get inspirations, and following their inspiration they'll either do something wonderful or something horrible or something mediocre. So where are those inspirations coming from? People will trust their inspirations. Where are they coming from? They're coming from Krishna. But everything coming from Krishna is not Krishna's desire. In this case, of course, it's a pastime. So it's Krishna's desire that Sukracharya curse Bali Maharaj's disciple, so the pastime will go on. But it's not ultimately Krishna's desire that anyone do anything other than perform loving devotional service to him, although he will give so much inspiration to so many different people according to their desires. Yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham manusham. Yes, everyone is on Krishna's path. Everyone has no choice. And Krishna is reciprocating with everyone and giving them fruits of the path according to their desires. So some person will become a materialist, some person will become a great devotee, inspired to become a great devotee, some person will desire to do this, some person do that, some person will even desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence. This is Krishna reciprocating with everyone's desire, because we're all ultimately dependent on Krishna. So the art of Krishna consciousness is to make our desire so pristine and pure that there is no other trace, fragrance of a desire within our heart other than to please Him. And when we are like that, when we are rendering pure devotional service, then we will see. That's what Bali Maharaj has done. And we will see how Krishna reciprocates with that. He tests Bali Maharaj like anything, but ultimately he will give himself. And that's not that the devotee wants Krishna to give himself, but that's how Krishna reciprocates. Atma parjanta vadanyata. He gives himself to the devotee. Thus, Sukracharya was never inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to develop in devotional service, because he wasn't a devotee. That wasn't his desire. So he got different inspirations. He got the inspiration to curse Krishna's devotee for being a devotee, for surrendering. As stated by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satatayuktaram bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Devotees who actually engage in devotional service with faith and love are inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, dadami buddhi yogam tam, bhajatam priti purvagam. To those who worship me with love and devotion, Dadami Buddhi Yoga. I give them the Buddhi Yoga by which they can come to me. Vaishnavas are never concerned with ritualistic smarta brahmanas. Srila Sanatana Goswami has therefore compiled Hari Bhakti Vilas to guide the Vaishnavas who never follow the smarta vidhi. Although the Supreme Lord is situated in the core of everyone's heart, unless one is a Vaishnava, unless one is engaged in devotional service, one does not get sound advice by which to return home back to Godhead. Such instructions are meant only for devotees. Therefore, in this verse, the word Daivi Prahita, being inspired by the Supreme Lord, is important. Sukacharya should have encouraged Bali Maharaj to give everything to Lord Vishnu. This would have been a sign of love for the Supreme Lord, but he did not do so. On the contrary, he wanted to punish his devoted disciple by cursing him. And Prabhupada's purport to the next verse. After the curse of Sukracharya, because of disobeying me, you shall very soon be bereft of all your opulence. Harisha Tadanam Sanai. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Bali Maharaj was not Pandita Mani. This is what Sukracharya says in the verse. Dridam Pandita Mani Agya. Your Dridam means very fixed in your determination, fixed in your decision. Pandita Mani, considering yourself very learned. Agya, at the same time you are foolish, stubborn, impudent. Why? Ashi Asmaru Pekchaya, you have disregarded, you have neglected me and what I've told you. Matshashana Atiga, you've surpassed the jurisdiction of my administration. You're thinking you're so intelligent, stubborn, obstinate, going against me, surpassing my conclusions, and therefore Ya Tvam, you yourself, Aksharat, very soon, Brayashe, will fall down Sriya, from all your opulence. You'll lose it all. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Bali Maharaj was not Pandita Mani, or one who falsely assumes himself learned. Rather, he was Pandita Manyagya, one who is so learned that all other learned persons worship him. And because he was so learned, he could disobey the order of his so-called spiritual master. He had no fear of any condition of material existence. Anyone cared for by Lord Vishnu does not need to care about anyone else. Thus Bali Maharaj could never be bereft of all opulences. The opulences offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead are not to be compared to the opulences obtained by karma kanda. In other words, if a devotee becomes very opulent, it is to be understood that his opulence is a gift of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such opulence will never be vanquished, whereas the opulence achieved by one's fruit of activity will be vanquished at any moment, may be vanquished at any moment. So his surrendering to Krishna made him the greatest of learned persons and truly wise. And such a person who is so learned, who knows the conclusion of everything, he's not required to please anyone else. So, cursed by his spiritual master Sukacharya. Sukadeva Goswami then continued, even after being cursed in this way by his own spiritual master Bali Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, being a great personality, never deviated from his determination. Therefore, according to custom, he first offered water to Vamanadev and then offered him the gift of land he had promised. Bali Maharaj's wife, known as Vindhyavali, who was decorated with a necklace of pearls, immediately came and had a large golden water pot brought there, full of water with which to worship the Lord by washing his feet. Bali Maharaj, the worshipper of Lord Vamanadev, jubilantly washed the Lord's lotus feet and then took the water on his head. For that water delivers the entire universe, because that water, the water that washes the Lord's lotus feet, is the worshipful Ganga. Raise your hand if you've ever taken a bath in the Ganga. Is there anyone not taking a bath in the Ganga? You're so unfortunate that the bridge didn't collapse and your bus didn't go in the Ganga. We should bring you some Ganga water. Have you ever drunk some Ganga water? Okay. So you've not been in the Ganga, but the Ganga's been in you. So that's good. It's the water that has washed the Lord's lotus feet. At that time, when he officially took the water from the Lord's lotus feet upon his head, symbolic of his surrender and giving in charity, at that time, the residents of the higher planetary system, namely the demigods, the Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, the Siddhas and the Charanas, all being very pleased by Bali Maharaj's simple, duplicitous act, praised his qualities and showered upon him millions of flowers. Purport. Arjavam, simplicity or freedom from duplicity, is a qualification of a Brahmin and a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava automatically acquires all the qualities of a Brahmana. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavadi kinchana savar gunastatra samaste sura. A Vaishnava should possess the Brahminical qualities such as Satyam, Samadhamma, Titiksha, Arjava. There cannot be any duplicity in the character of a Vaishnava. When Bali Maharaj acted with unflinching faith and devotion unto the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, this was very much appreciated by all the residents of the higher planetary system. Text 20. The Gandharvas, the Kimpurushas and Kinnaras sounded thousands and thousands of kettle drums and trumpets again and again, and they sang in great jubilation, declaring how exalted a person is Bali Maharaj, and what a difficult task he has performed. Even though he knew that Lord Vishnu was on the side of his enemies, he nonetheless gave the Lord the entire three worlds in charity. And how did Lord Vamandev react? What did he do next? He's been given everything, and now what will he do? There's a few purports, but we'll move to the end of the chapter here of how Lord Vamandev accepted the charity of Bali Maharaj. The unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had assumed the form of Vamana, then began increasing in size, acting in terms of the material energy, until everything in the universe was within his body, including the earth, the planetary systems, the sky, the directions, the various holes in the universe, the seas, the oceans, the birds, beasts, human beings, the demigods, and the great saintly persons. Bali Maharaj, along with all the priests, acharyas, and members of the assembly, observed the Supreme Personality of Godhead's universal body, which was full of 6 opulences. That body contained everything within the universe, including all the gross material elements, the senses, the sense subjects, the mind, intelligence and false ego, the various kinds of living entities, and the actions and reactions of the 3 modes of material nature. Thereafter, Bali Maharaj, who was occupying the seat of King Indra, could see the lower planetary systems, such as Vasatala, on the soles of the feet of the Lord's universal form. He saw on the Lord's feet the surface of the globe, on the surface of his calves all the mountains, on his knees the various birds, and on his thighs the varieties of air. Bali Maharaj saw beneath the garments of the Lord, who acts wonderfully the evening twilight. In the Lord's private parts he saw the Prajapatis, and in the round portion of the waist he saw himself with his confidential associates. In the Lord's navel he saw the sky, on the Lord's waist he saw the 7 oceans, and on the Lord's bosom he saw all the clusters of stars. My dear king, on the heart of Lord Murari he saw religion, on the chest both pleasing words and truthfulness, In the mind, the moon. On the bosom, the goddess of fortune, with a lotus flower in her hand. On the neck, all the Vedas and all sound vibrations. On the arms, all the demigods, headed by King Indra. In both ears, all the directions. On the head, the upper planetary systems. On the hair, the clouds. In the nostrils, the wind. On the eyes, the sun. And in the mouth, fire. From his words came all the Vedic mantras. On his tongue was the demigod of water, Varunadev. On his eyebrows were the regulative principles. And on his eyelids were day and night. When his eyes were open, it was daytime. When they were closed, it was night. On his forehead was anger. On his lips was greed. O king, in his touch were lusty desires. In his semen were all the waters. On his back was a religion. And in his wonderful activities or steps was the fire of sacrifice. On his shadow was death. In his smile was the illusory energy. And on the hairs of his body were all the drugs and herbs. In his veins were all the rivers. On his nails were all the stones. In his intelligence were Lord Brahma, the demigods, and the great saintly persons. And throughout his entire body and senses were all living entities, moving and stationary. Bali Maharaj thus saw everything in the gigantic body of the Lord. O king, when all the demons, the followers of Bali, saw the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who held everything within his body, when they saw in the Lord's hand his disc known as the Sudarshan Chakra, which generates intolerable heat, and when they heard the tumultuous sound of his bow, all of these caused lamentation within their hearts. The Lord's conch shell named Panchajanya, which made sounds like that of a cloud. The very forceful club named Kaumodaki. The sword named Vidyadhar, and a shield decorated with hundreds of moon-like spots. And also Akshayakshaya, the best of quivers. All of these appeared together to offer prayers to the Lord. These associates, headed by Sunanda and other chief associates and accompanied by all the predominating deities of the various planets, offered prayers to the Lord, who wore a brilliant helmet, bracelets, and glittering earrings that resembled fish. On the Lord's bosom were the blocks of hair called Shrivats, and the transcendental jewel named Kastuba. He wore a yellow garment covered by a belt, and he was decorated with a flower garland surrounded by bees. Manifesting himself in this way, O king, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities are
Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari Vajabhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Goshta Bihari Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari Dhira Damodara Ishaye Kana Bhova Mandire Bashi Karaha Bojana Nandirani Deshi Bashi Giri Baradari Baladeva Saha Sokha Vaise Sari Sari Shukta Shakhari Vaji Lalita Kushmanda Dalidana Dugda Tumi Dadi Mocha Kanda Mudabora Mash Boda Rotika Gritana Daskuli Pishka Kakir Kuli Payasana Kapura Amrita Keli Ramba Kirashara Amrita Rasalama Dvadasha Pakora Luci Sinisar Puri Ladura Sabali Bhojana Korena Krishna Hoye Kutuhali Radhikara Pakayana Bibida Bhanjana Paramayanande Krishna Korena Bhojana Chale Bale Ladu Khai Sri Madhu Mangala Bagala Bajaya Deya Hari Bolo Radhikari Gani Hari Nayane Rakone Tripta Hoye Kai Krishna Jasoda Bhavani Bhojanande Priya Krishna Subhasita Bari Sabe Mukha Prakaloy Hore Sari Sari Asta Mukha Prakaliya Jata Sakagane Anande Vishrama Kore Baladeva Sane Tambula rasala ne tambula masala. Tahake Krishna Chandra suke nidagela. Vishalaka Shiki Pucha Chamara Dulaya. Apurva Saya Krishna Suke Nirayaya. Yasomati Anga Priye Danishtayanito. Sri Krishna Prasad Radha Unje Hoye Prito. Lalitari Saki Gana Avashesha Paya. Mane Mane Sukhe Radha Krishna Guna Gaya. Hari Lila Ekamatra Jahara Pramoda. Bhogarati Gai Thakur Bhakti Vinoda. Bhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari. Bhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari. Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Gosta Bihari. Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Gosta Bihari. Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari. Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari. Raja Govinda Govinda Gopala. 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 Shuddha Bhakata Sharanarenu Vajanayanu Kula. Bhakata Seva Parama Siddhi Premalati Karamula. Madhavati Bhakti Janani Jotane Palana Kori. তব স্থান হেৰিব আমি প্ৰণয়িব কত সাঙ্গে মৃদঙ্গ বাজ শুনিতে মন অবসর সদ যাচ্ছে গৌরবিহিত কীর্তন শুনি আনন্দের হৃদয়ে নাচে শুধব কথা চরণ রেণু বদনয়ানু কুল যুগল মূর্তি দেখিয়া মোর পরময়ানন্দ হয়া প্রসার সেবা করিতে হয়া সকল প্রপঞ্চ জয়া এদিন গৃহে ভজন দেখি গৃহেতে গোলকা ভায়া শরণ শ্রীদু দেখিয়া গঙ্গা সুখান সীমা পায়া শুধব কথা চরণ রেণু বদনয়ানু কুল তুলসী দেখি ঘুরায় প্রাণ মাধব তো সানি জানি গৌর প্রিয় সাকস বাণী জীবন সার্থক মানি ভক্তি বিনোদ কৃষ্ণ ভজনে অনুকূল পায় যাহা প্রতিদিবাসে পরম সুখে শিকার করে তাহা শুধব কথা চরণ রেণু বদনয়ানু কুল ভগত সেবা পরম সিদ্ধি প্রেমল শিখর মূল শুধব কথা চরণ রেণু বদনয়ানু কুল
Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sam, Jai 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 Vrindavan. Everybody clap, clap, clap. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sam, Jai 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 Vrindavan. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sam, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Give it the drum bass, make it the drum bass. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Thank you for coming. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Vrindavindam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Giranagridam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Giranagridam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Giranagridam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Giranagridam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai 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 Giranagridam. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe. Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham. Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Sham. Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Dhira Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Srila Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Jaya Baladeva.
Hare Krishna devotee. Happy Ekadashi. See you tomorrow.